right. Now, speaking to the Ocean of Soul, okay? Texas Southern just performed with Beyonce, my queen. The queen bee. Yes, I'm a part of the Beehive and proud of it. You got me there. But we see them performing with her, and a lot of people have negative things to say. Beyonce is always has a marching band, da 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 da. Beyonce is who the fuck she thinks she is, and she has every right to do what the fuck she wants to do, right? But I don't really want to talk about that. I want to keep going with the Black American history and the Black American patriotism, because coming off of what I said about Valley and hoping that they don't go to perform at the inauguration, I also want to make it very clear that Black people, Black American people, those of us who are ethnically Black American, meaning that our ancestors are the, were the enslaved Africans here in America, right? We are the descendants of American chattel slavery. We have the right to be patriotic. We have the right to be patriotic. Hot take. Take fuego. Yeah, we do. Let's get into it. I'm a strong believer that multiple things can be true at once, right? So I absolutely believe that we can criticize America and we can criticize, the fascism, we can criticize the imperialism and the destruction that the United States of America has done, and still acknowledge that Black Americans lay the foundation for this country. There is nothing in America that moves without Black people, that Black people have not had a hand in. Okay? It simply is not. American culture does not move without Black culture. And it's been very interesting. So over the last, I want to say, 5 or 6 years is when I really started to notice it. There seems to be this era of tribalism, right? Where we are talking about Blackness ethnically rather than just as a whole. But when we talk about Blackness, it would be remiss to act like the concept of Blackness culturally is not Black American, okay? Are Black people racially Black, right? And not culturally Black American? Absolutely. And I want to say, before I delve into this topic, I love all Black people. Jamaica is one of my favorite countries, right, that I've been to thus far. I've had such good experiences with Black people from the Caribbean. I've also witnessed online some bad things, but in personal life, I've had amazing experience with Black Caribbean people. I've had amazing experiences with Black West African people. In college, I had some great experiences with Nigerian brothers and sisters. One of my line sisters is Ghanaian. Like, I've had really good experiences. I had an uncle who is Nigerian. Like, this is not me saying that I don't love all Black people, because my sweet babies, I love us for real. But I've noticed that it's this type of vibe where people might call it a diaspora war. I don't really think it's diaspora wars. I think it's different people versus Black Americans on the internet in the last 5 years. And I don't know if it's, stemming directly from the stuff with Black Lives Matter or where it really came from, but it's been kind of like this us versus them. And I have seen different movements pop up on the internet, whether that be ADOS, which I believe is American Descendants of Slavery, and FBA, which is Foundation of Black Americans. And I don't really know too much about those as movements. I've heard that they're pretty problematic. I don't know. I don't know. I've never subscribed to it. But what I can say is I am foundationally Black American, meaning that I am ethnically Black American, racially Black, and I am from America. And there's always been this kind of weird take. And that when I was younger, I didn't really know how to deal with it, where being foundationally Black American, when I say foundationally Black American, I'm not subscribing to any rhetorics besides my own. Okay, all views on this in this video are my own. But being foundationally Black American, I think that there's always been this kind of notion that we don't know where we come from and we don't have a culture, right? And when I was younger, I didn't really know how to combat that, because I've always been very proud of where I come from, right? Like I said, my dad is from Mississippi. Always been very, very proud to have roots in Mississippi. Always gone back to Mississippi, graduated from school in Mississippi, just always been very proud of that. My mama's people are from Arkansas. They're from England, Arkansas, an area right outside of Little Rock. I'm a child or grandchild of the Great Migration, right? My dad migrated. My mother, her parents migrated, and she's a child of the Great Migration. So I've always just been very, very proud of my roots. I've been very, very proud to be from the Midwest. Been very, very proud to be from Cleveland, Ohio. Been very, very proud of every area of this country that I come from, right? But it was always, like I said, that notion, we still don't know where we come from. And it's like, when I was younger, it's like, I guess I don't know where I come from, right? But then as I got older, I realized, like, I know exactly where I come from. My family has been in this country for generations, for at least the past 200 to 300 years, if not before that. And I know that there are different movements that might be a little bit more militant when I'm talking about. But what I can say is I've always known where my roots lied. And always been very proud of it. So when you see people as you get older still with this notion that, you know, as I got older and learned, hey, I know where I'm from, and they still have this notion that you don't, I think that's where the butting of heads comes in, because it's like, wait a minute, who are you to tell me that I don't know where I'm from? And I think people think just because they migrated from somewhere else or immigrated from somewhere else to the United States, that somehow gives them a leg up on knowing where they come from, rather than those of us who never had to immigrate to this country because we are from this country and our ancestors built this country, right? Because I think a lot of the frustration comes from the fact you don't really see people questioning Caribbean people like that, or people from the Caribbean like that. You don't see people asking Jamaicans, oh, but where's your family really from? Even if they were from Jamaica before they came here, right? People will take that, oh, they're Jamaican. They'll take that as an answer. If we say we're from America, they won't take that as an answer. And I think that has to do with the fact that America is a predominantly white country, right? But that being said, we still built the shit. So this is our country, right? And that's where, I don't know if it's being willfully obtuse, or people truly don't understand, but that's where a lot of the frustration comes in, right? And I've just seen in the last few weeks, there's been an uptick in certain topics that has to do with Black Americans and patriotism, right? Before we get to the patriotism aspect, I saw the stuff with Fat Joe and him saying that Black Americans were not the only ones who created hip hop. That it was like a 50-50 thing between Black Americans and Latinos. That comes down to the fact that not only white people want our rhythm and not our blues, non-Black Americans want our rhythm and not our blues too. You want to be associated with all of our good, but you don't want to be associated with all of our bad. It's no secret that, when immigrants come here, their people have probably told them negative things about Black Americans. White supremacy is a crazy, crazy, crazy network that has done a great deal of damage and continues to do so today. So we have very, very negative things that, or people are told very, very negative things about us, right? But it's the idea that we aren't told negative things about you too, but it's seeming that we can realize that that's simply not true in a way that a lot of other people don't seem to grasp. And I don't know, it's like we could grow out of it, but other people seem to not have grown out of it. And I don't know if it's just a super dominance online that's showing that, or if that's really the way that things are, right? But nonetheless, I think with saying like, oh, Black Americans didn't just create hip hop, that's not to say that there were not other people there, right? Like I said, my son is named after Stokely Carmichael, right? Stokely Carmichael had Trinidadian lineage, right? There are many Black Americans who had lineage from the Caribbean and other areas, but the difference is they assimilated to Black people and they saw themselves one with Black people. And I think after the civil rights movement, something changed where a lot of Black immigrants seem to not see themselves as one with us anymore. And they wanted Black immigrants who were willing to see themselves as different from us so that they would not rebel with us, right? That they were kind of seen to be the docile ones, where we were seen to be more militant. With all that, I think at the end of the day, it came to be known that still nigga, right? And some people grasped that and some people didn't, right? But we see stuff like that with trying to say that hip hop was not just a Black American invention, even though it was. That's not to say that there were not other people there who contributed, but they were not the creators, right? They might have contributed something to it, but you contributing does not mean that you created something. If you cannot replicate it, you did not create it. Because if that's the thing, if you created these things, you would replicate it the same way, right? But that goes into my good sis, Beyonce. She performed at the Beyonce Bowl, right? It was on Christmas Day. She performed at the halftime show between the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. And a lot of people had an issue with the fact that she has used a lot of symbolism in her Cowboy Carter album. She used a lot of American symbolism between the flag, speaking on American pride. People have not liked it, and people have said, how did she go from being in Black Panther wear to going into American flag paraphernalia, basically? Now, a lot of people also don't understand Cowboy Carter as an album. They simply don't. A lot of people, I don't think, actually listen to the album because is it my favorite Beyonce album sonically? Maybe not, but it's up there for me. But it's definitely my favorite Beyonce album in terms of the subject matter and the terms of how she put it together. I think it was very, very well done. And if you look at it, she speaks to the fact that, she is Black American. She's American. She's country. But she's not considered, when you think of American pride, when you think of country, you don't think of her. People tell her that she's not enough, right? Because even though, like I said, Black Americans have laid the foundation for everything that is in this country, we're still not seen as people who are able to be prideful from where we come from because of the way that America has treated us. And it's on one hand, yeah, we can denounce the things that America's done and still be prideful in the things that we have built, right? every genre in this country has started with Black Americans, right? We have contributed to every aspect of that. So much of things that are popular in America have come from the minds of Black people, right? So we have a right to be proud of that. We have a right to be proud of the fact that we have, persevered. We have a right to be proud of our resilience, because as many times as we have been put down, as our civilizations have been destroyed, that we tried to build on American soil, as many times as we have been bombed, as many times as we have been, gassed, the dogs have been sent on us, we have been hosed down, we still prevail. And that's something to be proud of, is it not? Same way, multiple things can be true at once, right? We can talk about the imperialism of America while also acknowledging that this is our home, right? It's the same way. There are so many bad things going on in countries all over the world, but you still have pride in where you come from. You still have pride in who you are. But it's like Black Americans just aren't allotted that same grace to be proud. It's like we should always be shamed. We should always feel like we don't know where we come from. We should always feel like we are less than, and we simply are not. We are the standard. And I don't think a lot of people like that, because how could we come from slavery and still be this hot shit like this? I don't know, baby. You got to ask the Most High, right? You got to ask the Creator. Don't ask me. I'm very passionate about this, and I could go off on many, many tangents. But that being said, Beyonce has the right to talk about her gripes with America while also being proud and acknowledging and reclaiming the American flag, right? The thing is with American, if you listen to Cowboy Carter, she talks about American Requiem. She talks even in Yaya. The whole album, she's talking about genres, right? Like I said, we have had a hand in every American genre. We have had a hand in creating it, right? When she talks about American Requiems, used to say I talk to country, because I've been a B fan since 98. People used to say she was country, couldn't talk, couldn't read, because she was from Houston. She had a Southern accent, Southern twang, right? Said all that stuff. Used to say she talks to country. Now you say she wants saddle up, right? Now she's not country enough. When she tries to enter this country space, oh, how dare you, right? She talks about a whole lot of red and white and blue, right? Red, white, and blue. A lot of the blood of our ancestors are in the hands of America, and we can acknowledge that, right? She talks about the fact that in American Requiem, she says a beautiful house that we never got to live in, right? All of this is America for what it has been in the American dream. Black people were never included in the American dream, but we built the American dream, right? And that brings me to 6AAA, because I wanted to talk about this from a different perspective, but it just ended up being from this perspective, because I watched 6AAA, and I will talk about some things that I have been feeling from my media eye standpoint as a media professional, but let's talk about it just for what that is. So if you haven't seen the 6AAA, it's on Netflix. It's about the battalion 6AAA, which was a battalion in the World War II that was made up of Negro women, right? Black women. They were basically assigned to sort through this male that had been, mishandled, and they were basically set up to fail to get the male going, and to basically get the male out to where it needs to be, right? To sort through it and figure out a system to get it to where it should be. And they did it. But do you think I was taught about the 6AAA? No. None of the women in my family went to the Army. So I didn't know about it. They definitely didn't teach us about it in school, right? And if you weren't closely related to them, you just might not have known about them. I know I did, and learning about them, it was a great movie to me. And it was great to learn about them, and it has created a deep dive, right, in learning about them. But I've seen some of the critique being, well, why would they even join the army if, America has treated them such a way? And the reality is, we are American. A lot of it has to do with survival. A lot of it has to do with survival and just trying to figure out a way. How can I pay for school? How can I make sure that I'm fed and have housing for the next X amount of years? But some of it comes from the fact that, hey, this is my country and I want to make sure that people are safe. Now, if you know anything about the military industrial complex, I don't know how much of that is, that mindset is actually effective in the grand scheme of things, right? But it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to be like, hey, I want to make sure that we are good here. And that's why I think the election was so detrimental. So many Black people felt betrayed by it, because we have to make sure that we are good first. And when we do that, people treat us like we are wrong. And we are not. We're not wrong for wanting to make sure that we are good before we lend our hand to everybody else. And the idea was, oh, well, don't vote for your best interest because it might affect somebody in another country. And I have always been about freeing Palestine, and I still am. But I think we have to be really realistic that whether you voted for Trump or not, that has nothing to do with the allyship between America and Israel. Like, you trying to say, oh, we're not going to vote for Kamala because she didn't do enough with Palestine. That's not going to stop America from doing what they're doing. In fact, you voted in someone who could care less. And that just didn't make sense to me. And when Black people were pushing back on that and saying, hey, that's not going to work, we have to make sure that we're good first before we can make sure that you're good, it was seen as sin, because we are expected to expend ourselves for everybody and without the same in return. And I don't like that. But that being said, my whole point with the 688, they have the right to defend their country without you questioning them. Most of these women have passed at this point. They have the right to want to defend their country and want to take advantage of opportunities, which, let's be real, a lot of them didn't get, because we saw how terribly America fucked up the GI Bill and making things right for Black Americans, right? Because my grandfather from Mississippi was in World War II, and the GI Bill did not help his ancestors in any shape, form, or fashion, right? But we see how America fucked that up, but they have the right to want that and to try to get it, right? And I think that we just have to take a step back when we're asking all of these questions about why people are proud to be American, right? Why Black Americans are proud of their culture, because we do have a culture and we do know where we're from. When we're proud of that, why is that an issue for you? We can critique it, the culture of America and what the white supremacy that America upholds has done to many others in the world. We can call that out, and we can still be very proud of where we come from. And so I encourage people to stop and ask themselves, where is this coming from? Is this actually something that them being prideful actually negatively affects me, or do I just not understand? What is it about that offends you about people being prideful, right, that you would call us out about that you don't call other people out about? I just encourage you to ask yourself that, and then if you still have an answer, let's talk about it. I'm always open to speak, but I want people to be for real and be honest about where their disdain is coming from. And And also, you know what? I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there because I have more to say, but I'm done for tonight. That being said, y'all know where to find me. You can listen, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can watch on YouTube, subscribe, like, review on podcasts, right? Rate me on podcasts. And hit me up. Hit me up in the chat. Okay? Talk to me. I'll talk back. Hello. But anyway, have a good night, y'all.